Hey guys, welcome into today's video. Today we're doing just a good old-fashioned try on Target haul of the makeup that I picked up. I picked up brands that I've never tried before. I always spend too much when I go into a store and I see stuff that I'm like, ooh, I've never tried that. It's mostly a bunch of stuff from Pixi by Petra. I want to give them a shot. I picked up a bunch of stuff from Well People, have never tried them before, and then one thing from Pacifica. So that's what we're focusing on today. I'm going to put all of these on even though there's multiples in the same category. So let's just hop right into it. I figured we kind of look at each of the items, or I tell you what I have before we start putting them on. So we'll just go over this stuff by Pixi by Petra. I picked up one of the eyeshadow palettes. I'm hoping this is like a really nice formula because this looks like a color story that I would really enjoy. I also picked up one of their satin lip tints. I actually think my son grabbed this and was like, Mommy, get this, Mommy, get this. So I was like, okay, I'll get this. And then I wanted to try the Tinted moisturizer stick. This is the On the Glow blush. This might be like too sheer for me, but I definitely wanted to give it a shot. Then this stuff from Well People I picked up. It's called the Supernatural Stick. It's a multi-use blush. This one is in the shade Peach. Okay, so if you've ever seen any of my other videos, you know I love orangey peachy colors. The one from Pixi is in Juicy. Then the other stuff from Well People, I picked up one of their Supernatural sticks in the bronzer. This one is in the shade Light Tan. I hope that's the right shade for me. I also picked up a lip butter. This has SPF 15. Ooh, that's actually pretty nice. This one is in the shade Peach as well. I think we'll just throw this one on like first. And then I picked up one of their Superpowder blushes. This is one of the powder blushes. This one is also in an orangey shade. It's called Sweet Persimmon. Then the other stuff that I got, I know this last year like launched and it had a lot of hype. This is one of the cream bronzers from Makeup Revolution. This one is the Ultra Cream Bronzer in the shade Light. I have obviously tried Makeup Revolution before, but wanted to try that. Then I got a fluffy blush from Pacifica. This one is in the shade Sunset. This looks like a really whipped, bouncy, ooh, I think I'm gonna enjoy this. I like a lot of blushes that are like whipped formula, so that's cool. And then I just did a blush declutter video, which is probably the reason that I picked up so many blushes. I have a Ulta haul where I picked up so many blushes, you guys. I was like, okay, I decluttered the ones that I didn't want, so now of course I feel like, oh, there's room. No. But if you did see my blush declutter video, you know that one of my favorite blushes is the Honest Beauty Cream Cheek and Lip Colors, and the one that I have was just going bad because I've had it for so long. So I did pick this one up in Coral Peach just to kind of re-up on this. Now that ColourPop is also in Target, I picked up one of their Super Shock blushes. This one is actually matte, so I'm really excited to try this because I have the pearlized one and I don't love it. It's one that I held on to because it looked beautiful, but I just don't get a lot of use out of it because it's so pearlized. It actually emphasizes a lot of the texture on my cheeks. So I'm excited to try the matte version because I'm mostly a matte blush kind of girl anyway. And this one's called Between the Sheets. So this actually looks like a pretty deep shade. Hopefully that works. I left my foundation off. I didn't pick up any base products or anything, but I did prime my eyes and do my eyebrows. I want to throw on this lip butter from Well People first. I'd love to hear from you guys if you've tried anything from Well People and if you like this brand. I haven't heard much about them, but there's a whole section in Target dedicated to Well People, and some of their stuff looked interesting, so I wanted to check it out. This is actually not like a perfect shade for me. It's kind of a stiffer formula. Okay, now that I'm looking at the back of this packaging, it says distributed by e.l.f. Beauty in Oakland, California. So does e.l.f. own this brand? I'm confused. That's probably the case. They say that they have plant-powered ingredients, so super clean, super natural, plant-powered, clean, vegan, cruelty-free, dermatologist developed. It's very interesting. So this actually only has a shelf life of 3 months, which might be fair for something that's really clean ingredients. So I don't know. I mean, I'll keep it in my collection and see how long it lasts. It's comfortable, but it's a thicker formula. So it's kind of stiffer, but I don't have anything that has an SPF in it in my lip products. So this is cool. I don't love the shade. That's my fault. Peach just doesn't look that great on me. So I don't have my foundation on, and I figured that we'd throw some of these other ones on so that we can just try them and then like take them off. So I'll go into the Supernatural bronzer stick from Well People. Again, this was in the shade Light Tan. This is another one that has a shelf life of 3 months. I guess that's pretty consistent with something that is very clean packaged. It's just a roll-up bronzer stick. It's a stiffer formula and it's actually a pretty deep shade, but it's almost like the warmth in it is almost red leaning. So I like that in a bronzer stick. I'm gonna draw this on and we're just gonna do the cheeks because we're gonna leave the one from Makeup Revolution on over the foundation. So we will just do this one for testing purposes. It's not an overly pigmented product. So far, it's something that I think that I would like. I feel like I could have even gone in heavier with this product because I feel like it blends out really nicely. It's a buildable formula. It looks pretty, and I don't think that it's too deep or too pigmented. So far I think I'll like this, even though it's kind of a stiffer formula. But because it is stiffer, probably when I have my foundation on, I would use a brush and like just pick it up with this product. Let's go ahead and use the multi-use blush stick. This one again has a shelf life of 3 months. This one is in the shade Peach. Same little packaging, same twist up. Again, I'm just gonna draw it on. You can see how much stiffer of a formula it is when I draw it on. It's not overly emollient, but it has like a slip to it. So it's hard to tell whether or not it's gonna end up looking like it has a sheen to it. I think that this one much more than the bronzer, but both of these aren't overly pigmented. They're your like natural kind of everyday products, and I do like this. I think that this and the bronzer are really pretty, very blendable. Neither of them look patchy or anything or were difficult to blend on the cheeks. So I think if you're into clean beauty or just natural looking makeup in general, I think these would be good to try. Next, let's move into the powder blush from Well People. It's called the Superpowder Blush Powder. Again, this one is in the shade Sweet Persimmon. It is the most adorable little thing ever. It's a tiny little compact, but it's this little tiny little dome shape. It's very pretty, like marbleized, but it's a very like even interesting looking texture. It's like smooth. I don't think this is a baked formula. It's very pretty. It almost looks like it has a matte finish, but it immediately stained my finger. I've already tried to like wipe it off, and so it's pretty pigmented. I'm just gonna pick it up with the brush and kind of tap it in because I'm a little bit scared that it's gonna stain my cheeks because it's so pigmented. By the way, none of these products have a scent to them. They're completely scentless. And some of you might actually like that. I don't mind a little bit of scent, but sometimes they can get overpowering for sure. I don't think that there's any sheen to it. And I actually think when you pick it up with a brush, it's more buildable than it is like overly pigmented. So it's cute. This is something that I would love to travel with. I like traveling with smaller products, and so I'm always kind of looking in my collection for small things and keeping my mind on the small items so that they can come with me. And something like this that's powder would be easy to travel with. So let's move on into the Honest Beauty one. I love this formula. I'm very familiar with this formula. There's nothing new about it to me. This was the repackaged version. I think that this cream formula is honestly some of the best. So if you have not tried this, I don't hear a huge amount of people talking about this blush from Honest Beauty, but I consider this my repurchase on this. My other one is more like a mauve shade. It is the perfect mix between emollient, but like still stiff. And I feel like this is a kind of matte finish product. A little bit, I feel like goes a long way with this product too. Like you don't need an awful lot, and it's a super long lasting formula. So I just barely tapped the brush in, bounce it a couple of times on the cheeks. Yeah, I think that's all that you need with this product. I like this color. Like I said, the last one that I had was mauve, but that's it. It has maybe a little bit of radiance to it, but it's completely dry. Super long lasting formula. I would continue to repurchase this. This is like one of my favorite. I would almost consider like drugstore blushes, but it's a little bit higher priced than like, you know, drugstore. I'm actually really excited to try this one just because it's the matte version. So this is the Super Shock Cheek in Between the Sheets. One of my criticisms of this blush in the pearlized finish, because that's the only one that I've tried, is that I've always had a hard time picking it up on a brush. This one is the Rare Beauty like soft pinch blush brush, but it's like stiffled, half dense, half fluffy. So I don't have any other issues using this brush with like any other blushes. So I'm hoping to have better luck. I actually think I am. I think this picked up pretty well, but I always feel like I dig really hard into this pan to get the amount of product off that I like. So ColourPop Super Shock Cheek, it just hasn't been my favorite. I like this one better than the pearlized because I'm just into a matte finish more. It's a nice color. I don't think that this is too dark. I think that it's like lighter and pinker on the cheeks than it looks in the pan. So I am glad that I got this one. Again, this is a really just travel friendly formula. I'm glad that I tried the matte version because I was always kind of harping on the pearlized one. And by the way, the ColourPop section in Target, I know that they recently came into Target, but it was like gutted. Like everybody had ransacked through it. It's nice that they're there because, you know, a lot of us go to Target on a regular basis. And as far as like for me, where I'm located, my Ulta is literally 30 minutes away. For living in a pretty metropolitan city, I'm just like shocked. My closest Ulta is like 2 cities away. And my closest Sephora is like 1 city away, which sucks. And it's like inside of a Kohl's. It's not even a stand-up Sephora. Like I have to drive at least a half an hour to get to an actual Sephora store. So it's actually nice that like ColourPop is now in Target, and there are Targets everywhere. And maybe not for everybody, but just definitely more so than I've seen like Ultas and Sephora's. Let's go into the final blush that I'm gonna try on before I put on my foundation. This is the Pixi by Petra On The Glow Blush Tinted Moisturizer Stick in the shade Juicy. Ooh, this is like a really orange color. It's much more pigmented than I thought it was gonna be. And this is the kind that you just like draw on, right? So I'm gonna do that. I like the applicator more than I thought I would, honestly. I'm gonna try and just kind of like tap it in with the brush. Huh, I like this one. It's definitely a more emollient, very kind of like sticky, tacky formula. It's not like a cream to powder finish or anything, but it's really easily blended in and it's got great pigmentation, surprisingly. I have seen other ones that just seem more sheer. I think this one has quite a bit more pigment and it is quite radiant. Like it made my cheeks just light up. So a lot of radiance, but good pigmentation. I like this one and I actually liked swiping it on. It kind of felt cool. So I just went ahead and did my foundation concealer, just my full base, before realizing that maybe I wanted to wait until after I did the eyeshadow palette to see if there was any fallout, but we're not going to. So this is the IFX eyeshadow palette and the color story looks like it is Rosetta Ray. It's a 9-pan palette. Let's give some of these shimmer shades a swatch. Very finely milled. Not a lot of texture to them, also not a lot of light reflection. This one here is very, very light. This one has more shimmer or sheen to it. They almost look like a ton of satin colors in here because this one definitely looks more satin. Let me give one of the mattes a swatch and we'll see how it looks. The mattes are like buttery soft. Very interesting formulation on some of these. Some of these shimmers look more like satins in my opinion. I would say that these two are more like metallic or more reflective shimmer. These two here are the satin ones and then everything kind of in that L shape right there are all mattes. So I know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to like build the transition with this one. I'm going to like go into the crease with this, build this in the outer corner, and then I'm gonna use this one right here, I think all over the lid. Okay, so overall, I think that there's good pigmentation to this palette. I don't find that the colors that I used really offered a huge amount of variety. I mean, mostly I pulled from these three, right? Transition, crease, outer corner. They're very cool tone when they get to the eyes, except this one, which maybe has like a teeny bit of warmth to it. But the shimmers are very light. They're not necessarily the kind of shimmer formula that I go for on an everyday basis. So I don't think that these shimmers are for me necessarily, but I think that they're light and natural looking. So I think that there are definitely like people out there that would like this. I don't think the pigmentation was bad, but I don't know about like the depth necessarily. I think the depth was harder to get than I anticipated, just kind of like finding like differences in the shades that I use. Not an overall bad palette. I just don't already like think of it as like, this is gonna be something that I just get giddy about trying again. I feel like I criticize eyeshadows a lot more than I do a lot of other products, for example, like blush and bronzers. I think bronzers probably are pretty high up there just because I feel like, you know, you really have to do something outstanding in a bronzer, I think, to really impress me. But eyeshadows, I just feel like they're the one thing that I have a like strict preference on the kind of shadows that I like. So maybe I was a little bit harsh in criticizing that palette. I don't think this is bad. I guess it's mostly the shimmer formula that I just am kind of like, meh, not my favorite. Let's go into this bronzer from Makeup Revolution. This is called the Ultra Cream Bronzer in Light. It definitely looks dark, so I hope there wasn't like a fair shade, but I don't think so. This looked like the lightest shade that they had when I was there in Target. I think that I'm going to just pick this up with a sponge. Wow, that's really emollient. Like it was very, very creamy formula. And this is a decent looking shade. If I recall correctly, people were saying that this was a really, really good drugstore formula. So I am thinking that I'm gonna like this. Picked it up, kind of bounced it in, and now I'm going back in to just tap it in with my sponge. It looks like it has like a little bit of radiance to it. It doesn't look like it's like a full matte finish when you blend it in. And it looks that way on the cheeks too. It's just a really kind of neutral undertone to it. There's no real warmth at all. And so it's kind of like a really decent shade formulation wise. Very, very creamy, very easy to blend in. I see why this was a popular product. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to run out and get it at the time, but this is darn good. I am like just building it up, so I feel like it's definitely a buildable formula, but it's also, I mean, fairly pigmented right away too, but it's not so much so that when you go in with your first couple of taps, it's too much product. So it's kind of like perfectly in between. I definitely like this. So long as the formula is like long lasting, this could be one of my top cream bronzers. Now I want to go into the blush. This is the Fluffy Blush from Pacifica. This was in the shade Sweet. The shade looks perfect. It's like a mauvey corally shade, but it's not too orange for a peach. It's beautiful. It's the kind of in-between that I just love. It's definitely like a moussey texture. I don't think it's overly pigmented, but it seems like it would blend out very easily. I think I'm gonna go in with just a stipple brush, like straight into the product. I think that's how I'm gonna do it because it fits perfectly in here. This is definitely like a moussey formula. It's like a bouncy, moussey whipped formula. If you can kind of see that, some of my favorite like moussey whipped blushes look just like this. Again, Pacifica is a brand I've never tried anything from. I don't necessarily get excited by like the reviews that I see on Pacifica. I think Pacifica is kind of one of those like that I feel like is a hit or miss on products, at least the reviews that I see. This is gorgeous. It's like a soft matte finish. So easy to pick up. This was the perfect brush to grab. It's pigmented, but not overly pigmented. Oh wow, I really like this. It's also that I love this peachy, corally, pinky shade. It's a really beautiful shade. It's a beautiful texture. It's right in the middle because it's that soft matte finish. I just prefer this kind of finish. Like it's not completely matte. It has a tiny bit of, I think, sheen to it, but mostly super, super easy. I really like this and this. I'm actually really glad that I ended with these two products. So far, I think these are probably, I mean, aside from the Honest Beauty blush that I really love, I think these are probably the favorite like bronzer blush duo that I tried today. I don't have a new mascara, so I'm gonna throw on my Glam & Doll False Lashes mascara from Catrice really quickly. The last thing we have to try on is the lip stain from Pixi. Okay, mascara is on. I'm not gonna do any lower lash action today. I'm just gonna keep it kind of minimal. The final product that we have to put on is the satin lip tint from Pixi. This is called the Tint Fix. It's in the shade Calm. It looks like a pretty orangey shade. I don't know if I necessarily kind of meant to do that. This is not generally like a color that really looks good on me. If it's too brown, It's a really thin formula, pretty sheer. It does have a really strong like floral scent to it. It's a very, very, very thin formula. It almost feels like it has silicones in it because it's kind of like filling in my lip lines. This would also like be good for like a blotted lip almost. It's a very, very pillowy formula. Kind of smooths out your lips and it's not overly hydrating. So I just topped it with a lip oil. I think it's really pretty. I think like the lip oil kind of helps like rehydrate it. But yeah, I definitely think it's like a smoothing formula, but it dries pretty quickly when it's sitting on your lips. So yeah, I feel like you would want to top something with this. I don't think it gets better as it continues to dry down. There wasn't anything in this haul that I really didn't like. I think the thing that I liked the least was the shimmer formula on the eyeshadows. And that's just because I have a personal preference of like the shimmers that I like to use, which are just more light reflecting, a little bit textured, but everything else was really, really nice. Maybe this lip product from Well People was a little bit stiff and the shade wasn't my favorite, but everything else I really enjoyed. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'd love to hear in the comments whether or not you've tried Well People or any of these products and whether or not you like them. If you do like this video, I hope you do give it a thumbs up. If you are new here and aren't a current subscriber, I hope you consider subscribing to my channel. And I am out of here, you guys, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.